Welcome to ThinkTech Radio's Focus on Asia Tuesday. Today's segment is Asia in Review with your host, international business lawyer David Day.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Asia in Review. Our program this afternoon, we're going to be talking about the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies impacting the region from Hawaii. And I know that there are some of you out there who don't know very much about this remarkable institution here in Hawaii. Probably your perspective is that it's just this nondescript collection of buildings right next to the Halikoa parking garage, but it really is one of Hawaii's premier institutions as well as intellectual pillars having to do with Asia and our relationships there. And so what we want to do with this program is explore what this place is all about, what does they do there, and to help us with that, we are very fortunate to have the director of the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, Lieutenant General Dan Leaf, retired.
Retired, at least from the Air Force, not from life. Aloha, David. How are you?
It's great to have you again with
Thanks.
us here on the program, Dan. And let's start off by kind of helping those members of the audience who don't really know about the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. What is this institution all about?
Okay, as you said, it is kind of nondescript but beautiful right down in the heart of Waikiki, and people who walk by wonder two things about us. What does an Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies do, and do we have public restrooms? And the answer to the latter is no. Security in the word makes people think it's highly secretive. It's not. We conduct a program of executive education for national security professionals from around the region and, in fact, the globe. And we have several courses in residence that teach various elements of security practice. We do workshops both in Hawaii and throughout the region. And we maintain contact with over 7,400 alumni, including 2 heads of state and over 100 current and former ambassadors who are graduates of our programs, to promote peace, security, and really good governance throughout the region and more broadly through the world.
Why? What's the point of doing this, Dan? Why is this important?
Well, we build relationships with countries and governments throughout the region. We share our views on the conduct of security practices. We promote good principled governance. And whether you're an ally, a partner, or another kind of nation with a less specific relationship with the United States, good governance by U.S. and international norms is good for the United States, by definition.
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to a live broadcast here, and you can join the conversation if you wish to by calling us at area code 808-296-5467. You are listening to the Wall Street Business Network, and we are here with Dan Leaf, the director of the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. And Dan, let's give the audience kind of a picture. Who are these security professionals that come into Waikiki as a part of the various programs that you do?
Well, a good example would be to describe the course that just graduated yesterday.
Okay.
We graduated our Advanced Security Cooperation course. The name is very descriptive. Advanced, they're senior people generally in their military, civilian sectors of the security apparatus. And we teach cooperation at an advanced level. So the course included 97 folks, about half civilian, half military. They were from 39 countries, plus one from the UN and one from ASEAN. The individual from ASEAN was our first Burmese or Myanmarese, if you prefer, person to participate in a course. She was a representative of ASEAN, but that's a big step for us, and I think a big step for Burma. They spent 5 weeks studying a variety of topics in a very participatory learning environment. We start with lectures, go to seminar, and then do practical application. But it's not just philosophy or policy. We teach negotiation skills, complex problem analysis and solving, and other very practical matters. So when they graduate after 5 weeks, they've got a few things that they take home with them. Number one, just the fundamental advancement of their skills will make them better at whatever job they have on day one.
So this is like a executive education program for
It is an executive
for
education.
military diplomats and other
Yeah,
senior
so-
government officials.
Yeah, about half military, some
Okay.
police, immigration, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We had a Department of Education. We had a government television executive from one country. So a very diverse
Okay.
group of people, but all with a piece of security in their job. So they leave with skills. They leave with a network of colleagues that they built. We really build a fabric of fellowship and we call them fellows because they're not students. They're not undergrad or graduate. They're beyond that. They're practitioners. And additionally, they gain perspectives that they never would have gained anywhere else. Really, the remarkable thing is to spend that time with folks from 39 different countries in a very open, transparent, respectful environment where the perspective of a small Pacific Island nation carries the same weight and gets the same voice as China or the United States. And I had a conversation with a couple of our fellows last night after the commencement, and I was talking to an individual from Pakistan and an individual from Chile together. Now that pretty much covers the Pacific.
Yeah,
Admiral
sure is,
Locklear
yes.
likes to say from Hollywood to Bollywood and from penguins to polar bears. And that pretty much covers it. So yeah, they get that perspective. We also teach optimism, not consciously, but when we start our course, we poll them on whether they think the security environment in Asia Pacific is getting worse, getting better, or staying the same.
What does that typically show?
Every course, it's weighted to getting worse,
Okay.
significantly fewer getting better, and not too many staying the same. And at the end of every course, the percentages are almost exactly reversed. And that happens again this time. So we don't give them a sense of Pollyanna that does that. They recognize that they have more in common than separating them, regardless of what countries they're from. And they get confidence in their skills. And the two of them give a different view of whether or not challenges can be met. I think we also teach the opportunity of Asia Pacific. I mean, we tend to focus on the negative. The threat from North Korea is to be concerned about. There are other issues, maritime security, territorial claims, but there's more potential than there is risk in Asia, I think.
So that's the optimism thread that runs through the courses in terms of a kind of a final takeaway.
But it's not a takeaway, we don't give it to them. It comes to them.
Okay.
It's a bit of an epiphany. And it is a remarkable experience for our fellows. As I asked them what they thought of the course, one of the fellows from this recent graduated class who had just spent a year at Oxford, a pretty well-known institution, talking about her five weeks at APCSS, said to me, it was a personal enlightenment. It's a remarkable experience.
You know, so that an audience could picture kind of what you're saying. In this last class, did you have any representatives from India?
Several.
Okay. And did you have any representatives from Pakistan?
Of course. And even though Pakistan's on the edge outside the PACOM area, we very frequently do.
Okay. And were there opportunities during this course for representatives, or a representative from India and a representative from Pakistan to sit next to each other?
It's common. I mean, it's not forced upon them. It just happens in the way we conduct our course. And in fact, after graduation, I was talking to a senior officer from each country together who have become friends.
At the same time, you were talking to both.
Well, I had to. They were friends saying goodbye to each other.
And so that, Dan, when you stop and think about it, that is a remarkable product or exercise that APCSS can put together. And it's no wonder that there is a perspective epiphany that comes from that personal relationship that they would never otherwise get.
It is. We pursue that actively. We have activities and a structured our courses that socializes them with each other and gets past the uncertainty and in some cases suspicions about the motives of the center and the U.S. government in doing it. And I'll also say, as I think I did last year, we are so blessed to be in Hawaii. We couldn't do it to the degree that we do.
Why is that?
Well, it's a pretty nice place, David. You've noticed, right?
I've noticed that, but what's the connection between being in Hawaii and the Epiphany?
It is such an incredible. It has such incredible physical beauty, and the spirit of aloha. Some of us who live here may have grown a little bit skeptical about that, or even cynical. But when you see the effect it has on them, and except for formal days, they're dressed in aloha attire during their courses, and we use first names, not titles. And you watch it's not just that it relaxes them or gets their guard down. They're just warm up and become open and collegial, and it's the spirit of aloha.
And part of the process.
Absolutely. It's part of the business model. Yeah. We give them cultural orientations. We take them out to the Polynesian Cultural Center. We hike Diamond Head. We do a lot of activities to give them that.
And we've got much more after the break, so stay with us. Okay.
760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
In this next section of the program, what let's do is let's pick up with one more piece to the big picture that we need to cover, and that's the alumni. So after the break, I'll have Jay will do a little short
commercial
piece, and then what we'll do is we'll do a piece on the alumni, and then I want to get into the kind of the...
So if you want a good way to do that is to so what do you really do there? And I'll use that we change the world. And then you can say, how do you know?
Okay.
I said, I know because I talk to my alumni and I hear what they do.
And then after we cover the alumni piece, let's get into a discussion about some of the things we talked about the successes and victories over the last year.
Okay. I'll talk it, so the alumni piece will be anecdotes about changing the world. And then you talk.
Pacific Forum CSIS is a nonprofit, nonpartisan foreign policy organization affiliated with the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C. From right here in Honolulu, Pacific Forum has, since 1975, provided analysis on current and emerging political economic.
Hello?
Yes, Leah.
Okay, Lon from Vietnam. She has some questions for Dan Leaf.
Okay, so just hold her on the line until after Jay makes an announcement, and then if you could put her on after Jay's voice ends.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
Your support for the Young Leaders Program and to send future generation leaders abroad to ensure peace and prosperity in the Pacific. Please contact Pacific Forum at 808-521-6745. That's 808-521-6745. Or you can visit them on the web at pacforum.org. That's PACforum.org.
I'm going to make a noise.
Your product is
Know
selling
where we're going to
globally,
be.
so why export?
Doesn't
Because
interrupt
95% of all consumers live in foreign markets. Why not expand your market and increase your sales with help from the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone, your hub of international trade in Hawaii? The Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone offers you the services and support you need to start, grow, and succeed in your import-export business. Find them on Facebook at /Hawaii FTZ or on the web at www.ftz9.org.
I actually do think.
You're listening to Asia in Review Thursday on the ThinkTech radio series here on AM 760 KGU. Now here once again is your host, David Day.
We are back, we're live, and we're talking about the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies in Waikiki, impacting the region from Hawaii. Our special guest in the studio with us today is Lieutenant General Dan Leaf, the Director of the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, and make sure that you know that General Leaf is retired.
From the Air Force.
From the Air Force, yes.
Yeah,
and not from life.
Exactly.
And before we continue with our discussion about this remarkable institution here in Hawaii, let me just point out to all of you that we have a CEO of ThinkTech, Mr. Jay Fidel, and Jay has got a announcement for all of you here. So Jay, are you there?
Yes, David. Thank you very much. I want to tell everybody about housing. On May 23rd, that's a Thursday, ThinkTech and the Hawaii Venture Capital Association will present a luncheon panel program on housing at the Plaza Club. It's called 2013 Update on Housing in Hawaii, Waking Up to the American Dream at a Cost We Hope We Can Afford. Harry Saunders of Castle and Cook, Hawaii will be the moderator. Paul Brubaker, an economist, is going to make opening remarks to set the stage. And then a totally blue ribbon panel of developers and people involved in housing all around the state. Stanford car developer Tony Ching, the executive director of the Hawaii Community Development Authority, runs Kaka'ako. Paul Kay of Kamehameha Schools, they have projects. David Strip with Howard Hughes Corporation, they have projects. John Wallenstrom of Forest City, another developer, they have projects. And John White, Pacific Resources Partners, they have union labor. So, you know, as housing goes, so goes the state. But it is fraught with delays and permitting issues and bureaucracy and high prices and taxes. And home development ain't what it used to be, and neither is home ownership. So we are on the cusp of a housing transformation of some kind. How will that work out? Will we like it? Find out on May 23rd at the Plaza Club, Thursday, for update on housing in Hawaii. You want to register, check out hvca.org. Thank you, David. Back to you now.
Okay, great, Jay, and that's a spectacular program coming up. And if you have a chance to hear the Hawaii's legendary economist, Mr. Paul Brubaker, I suggest you jump at it. Well, let's go back to our discussion now with the director of the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, General Dan Leaf, and I understand that we have a caller on the line. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Could you give your first name and tell us where you're from?
Yes, thank you very much.
What is your first?
My name is Luan from Vietnam.
From Vietnam, okay. So, Luan, do you have a question for General Leaf?
Yes. Aloha, General Dan Leaf. How are you?
Aloha, Luan. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay. I would like to have a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay. The first question is about APCSS, and the second question is about the Asia Pacific. So let me start with the first question. I had a chance to participate free courses at APCSS. I can tell that I really value the high quality of APCSS intensive training program for security study and research.
That's great.
And I find that the professor and staff are very, very dedicated, professional, and competent. However, I understand that the budget has significantly been cut. So will this be impacting significantly on APCSS? What is the center's priority right now? And how do you maintain the good quality training program? And what do you do to retain your professional staff?
Okay.
Okay, that's a good, tough question, wow. Luan. Thank you. Our budget has been reduced under the requirements of sequestration, but not specifically targeted at APCSS. So we're prioritizing on our in-residence courses, first and foremost, then on our workshops. We've reduced some of the activities, eliminating one week course, and another workshop and reduce the population of a coming course before the end of the fiscal year. That said, if sequestration is overcome and we get a budget resolution, the prospects are actually quite bright for APCSS over the long haul. We've got great support from Pacific Command and from the Office of Secretary of Defense for policy. And so I'm optimistic if the budget impasse is resolved. If not, then I think it's anybody's guess. But we will continue to make the most of the resources the taxpayers allow us to utilize. And again, with priority on the in-residence courses first and the workshops second.
Okay, Luan from Vietnam, you had a second question. But before you do the second question, does that answer your first question?
Maybe I haven't heard about the response to the good quality training and how do you retain your professional staff given the situation
okay.
the budget is facing.
Okay.
The way to retain good quality at training and education is to limit what you do to what you can afford to do well. And that's why we reduced it. So we're not going to keep trying to conduct the same number of courses and workshops and do them to a lower standard of excellence than we've got. The retention of high-quality personnel is a challenge. The furlough, if implemented, will be very difficult financially for not just the faculty, but for our great staff. And I am concerned about that. I don't have a magic wand solution. We are blessed with the fact that I think most of our people really appreciate the value of what they do. This is a labor of love and passion. They recognize the impact they have in their work, and that helps, but it doesn't put bread on the table.
Okay, Luan from Vietnam, you had a second question.
Thank you, General Dan. My second question is that if you are President Obama,
uh-oh, here it comes.
what would you wish to do differently if, in terms of budget allocation for the U.S. military, that will better contribute to peace for the Asia Pacific?
Well, first of all, I like my current job, and I have no intention of running for that office, just to make that clear. And it's clearly in our system, as you understand, Luan, it's not the president's decision alone. So what I would wish to see done is for the budget impasse to be resolved, and then to continue to implement fully the concepts and proposals of the rebalanced Asia Pacific. I think there's a good path laid out. The new Secretary of Defense and the new Secretary of State have endorsed the concept, and I think the services have a good plan. It's not just ships and airplanes and troops. It's about engagement and training for other countries and building of partnerships and modernizing alliances, in addition to the legitimate role for military deterrence. So I think there's a path laid out, but the resolution of the budget impasse is key to that.
Okay.
Luan, thank you for your questions, and appreciate you joining us here for the conversation on the Asian Review.
Thank you very much, General Dan, and congratulations on your first outstanding year of leadership at
Thank you.
APCSS. Congratulations.
Thanks,
Bye.
Luan, and that was not a paid announcement. I appreciate your kindness, though. Aloha.
Thank you.
All right. You know, Dan, in the first part of this program, we talked about kind of the broad picture of what APCSS does, what it's all about, and I guess, you know, kind of summarizing that conversation that we had, what is it that you really do at APCSS?
Well, our short motto is that we educate, connect, and empower the people that serve as our course fellows and our workshop participants. But the shorter way of saying it is we change the world. And we do. The work that's done collaboratively.
You change the world.
We change the world.
How do you know that you do that?
I know that from our alumni and from what they tell me. When you have a fellow from a Pacific Island nation come back 5 years after his course and say that when he returned home, he was asked to lead a coup, but he did not because of what he learned at APCSS, I'm saying that's world change.
That's awesome.
When you have a Pakistani general who credits his success in resettling 500,000 people to what he learned in a crisis management course, this was after the Pakistan earthquake in 2005, to a crisis management course in APCSS, that's world change. A recent graduate of our crisis management course was in Bangladesh near the tragic building collapse. He was an Air Force pilot. He sent an oxygen and air servicing truck down to the wreckage that pumped fresh air into the rubble and kept many people alive. I've got a million stories like that.
I think that this is one of the things that, Dan, that the public really does not understand what a remarkable institution APCSS is, and we want to talk more about that in this program, and some of the unusual things, and some of the things that are not so unusual, but that all adds up together. And ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to stay with us. We're going to take a short break here, and we'll rejoin you after the break. So we'll see you on the other side.
760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
An accident in town on the H1 Everbound at the Waialae exit.
You know, that's really nice to have a...
No problems going east to Hawaii Kai. The windward drive is normal. If you're going west, the one are really slow now when you get into Fort Chapman Flats.
Yeah,
and the H1 really is backed up halfway down the airport viaduct.
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't put her up to that, okay?
She was funny.
Yeah, she's a hoot.
Broadcast this alumni-wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it you know, she's asking with her accent. You know, she's asking wonderful questions that I'm sure many people on your staff are thinking the same question. You know, and they just may not have the same willingness to call in and ask it. You know, and.
They just want to call and give me a hard time about my car.
About about the By the way, did you do that engine modification yourself?
I did some of it.
Yeah?
I
Is that a hobby thing?
I worked my way through high school and college with a wrench in my hand. So. More wrenches than books, that shows.
Hawaii, the state of clean energy, is also brought to you by Hawaiian Electric Company, powering the growth and development of Hawaii since it was chartered by King Kalakaua in 1891. Today, Hawaiian Electric and its subsidiaries, Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company, serve more than 95% of our state, providing reliable electric service essential for our quality of life. The Hawaiian Electric companies are also leading our transition to clean energy.
I'd rather have it result in 0 to 60 in 4 seconds than a coffee table.
Energy efficiency, we're reducing Hawaii's dependence on imported oil and providing a more sustainable and secure...
I'm afraid you got me on that one.
For more information, visit hawaiisenergyfuture.com. Hawaii, the state of clean energy, is also brought to you by the State Energy Office of the Department of Business, Economic Development and
That'll give you
Tourism.
something to do with the
How
next
can
few
we
months.
secure a better future for Hawaii? One way is clean energy. And the State
Turns out
Energy
there's a
Office is steering
design
Hawaii to that
characteristic
clean
in this
energy
particular
future.
engine that makes
Hawaii
it
is rich
somewhat
with
supercharged
natural
and
renewable
tolerant that we
resources,
didn't
the
know when
sun,
we
the
threw it on there.
wind, the ocean, and the land. And they are all being tapped to meet Hawaii's clean energy initiatives to generate electricity, create jobs, spur economic growth, and reduce our dependence on imported foreign oil. To learn more, visit energy.hawaii.gov.
You're listening to Asia in Review Thursday on the ThinkTech radio series here on AM 760 KGU. Now here once again is your host, David Day.
We are back, and we are live, and you can join the conversation by calling us at area code 808-296-5467. And if you are in one of the Asian countries, don't be afraid to call us, because I know it's not that expensive to make the call. We'd love to hear from you. This is the Wall Street Business Network, and we're talking about the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies with its director, General Dan Leaf, here in the studio with us. But before we continue our conversation, I need to bring back the CEO of ThinkTech, Mr. Jay Fidel. Jay, are you on the line?
Yes, David, thank you very much. I just wanted to remind everybody that ThinkTech streams, live streams, all of its talk shows on the internet. We put streaming video on Ustream and streaming audio on Spreaker.com. If you want to catch us live, these video and audio streams are available on our website. Check them out on ThinkTechHawaii.com. Just to make it clear, we put streaming video on Ustream and streaming audio on Spreaker.com. If you want to catch us live, these video and audio streams are available on our website, which is ThinkTechHawaii.com. Remember, too, that we have a gallery for a live audience in our downtown ThinkTech studio. In fact, somebody is in the gallery right now today watching this show. You can come down also and be a member of that audience. You can pose questions to our guests and participate in the discussion. To reserve your place, write to me, J. Fidel, at j@thinktechhawaii.com. Thanks, David. Back to you for more.
All right. Well, I just wanted to remind our audience that we're here every Thursday with an international program relating to foreign policy, geopolitics, security in the region, or international business on Thursdays at 4 o'clock here on KGU. And come join us next week. We're going to be talking about China's netizens, liberated or checked by technology. And our special guest will be Ms. Yujing Shintu, formerly with the People's Liberation Army in China, and now a VASI Fellow at Pacific Forum, CSIS. So interesting discussion. But let's go back with General Dan Leaf here and talking about the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. And right at the break, Dan, you were talking about examples of alumni who've done remarkable things that underscore the kind of the shorthand mission, if you will, of changing the world. And let's kind of take a quick flashback here. Over the past year, you've been the director of the center now for roughly about a year. Give us a feel of some of the things that have happened that you are particularly proud of. What do your victories look like?
Well, I'm not personally proud of it because I didn't do it. The team did it, and our fellows are part of the team and our participants. I'm proud of what we've accomplished in what we sought to accomplish, really the motivation of promoting peace and security in Asia Pacific. We've had several successful courses. I can't give you a thumbnail description to your listeners because it's hard to encapsulate it, but our courses have grown and matured, and I've watched the clarity of content and the quality of presentation from a very high standard advance. We've held workshops on key issues that led to substantial outcomes. Since I've been there, we've held been at the center since January 2012 in Mumbai, India, Vientiane, Laos, Jakarta, Indonesia, Singapore, Shanghai, Beijing, Hainan. Did I say Hue in Thailand already? 2 workshops at Harvard, a couple of important workshops in Honolulu, and they're on issues from health security, environmental security, maritime security and territorial disputes, countering violent extremism, and these workshops are not conferences. We don't get together and talk. We get together and do something and produce an output. In one case, in a bilateral workshop, helped the combined security community in the center, in the country we're working in, develop a new national security policy to be brought to the legislator, to be brought into law. So this isn't a gab fest. It's actually achieving something. I'm very proud of that. We've really continued to leverage our alumni. We keep about 60 to 65% contact with our over 7,400 alumni. A university would kill for that.
They certainly
would. I'm just saying. We do that through hard work. But as an example of how we leverage them, leverage for good, with all the concern about North Korea recently, I sent an email to our international alumni and said, what do you think we don't know about North Korea? What do you think we might do at the United States or the world community that we're not doing? And what could APCSS's role be in addressing the challenges on the Korean Peninsula? And we got back very quickly a number of very thoughtful responses from a perspective that is very diverse and rich. So we've done all that. We've also opened a new facility, Malahia Hall, an instructional facility, opened last August. Many of you may walk by on the intersection of Ala Moana and Kalakaua and see it there behind the garden. What I'd say to that, what I'm really proud that we do is we're a responsible member of the community. It's set in a beautiful setting, and we take care of the Aina, and the decor belongs here. You know, it's not just a government building dropped in the middle of paradise.
Let me ask you about a related topic
Sure.
here in terms of things that have occurred or developed, or a victory that's happened on your watch so far, and that has to do with women in the security field.
Okay.
What is that all about, Dan?
Well, I think I don't think anybody in the Department of Defense would argue with me if I say that APCSS is the leading DoD institution with regard to an initiative called Women, Peace, and Security. Women, Peace, and Security is of UN origin. The United States has made a commitment to it, and it has a national action plan. And I got here, heard about it, was intrigued and drawn to it, and the listeners may be going in the wrong direction, thinking, it's a politically correct move. I'll tell you why I was drawn to it. My experience in business as a defense industry executive. The company I worked with, and those companies I worked for, and the companies I worked with, all very aggressively pursued diversity for one reason. It's a money maker. You get different perspectives, different voices, good diversity in your workforce, you do better. Okay? The same is true in the security sector. So we started trying to attract 20% or more women to our courses. And that gets us a broader perspective. It improves the natural dynamics of our course population. And it really has proven to be a very fertile field for us to expand our thinking and improve our offerings. So I'm really proud of our efforts in that regard. Again, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's an effective thing to do in enhancing security, peace, and cooperation.
What about this whole topic of the pivot or the rebalance, Dan? What is the role that APCSS is starting to play or will play in this whole policy area?
The radio listeners can't see my chagrined grin.
The video listeners, and there is such thing as a video listener.
But I'm smiling because our principal role is to move this from a point where the verb has become the subject to where we're talking about the substance of the rebalance. So it doesn't matter whether you call it a pivot or a rebalance. It's a security shift, a strategic shift to focus on Asia Pacific. And part of it's because of risks, but it's really because of opportunity. Asia Pacific has got a very future focus and a positive, generally quite peaceful dynamic right now. And it is of vital economic importance, but I think of the opportunity there. So we've hosted a workshop that brought leaders from all over the region and the U.S. To discuss just what the rebalance is about and talk about the fact that it's not purely military, that it is truly whole of government, not my favorite term, but the entire government is involved in it. And then inform the thinking of some of our very senior officials in defense and in the diplomatic service with the perspective shared in an open, honest academic environment from throughout the region. And we hear several things, if I can go on.
I'm interested in this because it's a very important topic.
First of all, the focus on the rebalance initially was all about the military because that's easy to conceptualize. It's easy to count ships and planes and troops. And it was most visible and most important. And now we educate, we look at what else is there. Secondly, there is a sense, especially in China, that it's all about containment of China. And we have a chance to present our courses that's first of all,
That's not the
containing
case.
China is not achievable, and it's not in U.S. interests. And a modern, responsible China that is an active and positive participant in the Asia-Pacific community is good for both countries. Now, I will tell you that I don't just say, hey, it's not about containing China and gain agreement from Chinese. That's not the case at all. There's disagreement to that. But I would submit that U.S. presence in Asia-Pacific has been broadly very positive for China. Very positive for decades, and that we bring some value to China by being actively engaged here. We also get a chance to look at why, besides China, the country has a strategic focus here. And yes, there are the economic interests, but look at the emerging democracies, look at the transition in Burma, look at the expanded and important role of Indonesia, which has been an important trading nation for centuries, not decades. There are so many reasons for us to be here and to kind of expand the thinking beyond just the military and beyond just Northeast Asia. I think has been a key role that APCSS has played.
You know, this discussion that we're having, Dan, is remarkable in the sense that as a business lawyer, I have tried to follow and done a pretty good job following the developments and the maturity stage, various maturation stages of APCSS. And I'm learning something new here, and I know that many in our audience are as well. We'll have a caller join us after the break. Stay with us. Let's do this.
760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
An accident in town on the H1 ever-bound at the Waialae exit from the Kohala Viaduct. No problems going east to Hawaii Kai. The windward drive is normal. If you're going west, the Moanalua really slow now when you get into Fort Shafter Flats, and the H1 is backed up halfway down the airport viaduct. Inbound traffic from the west slows as you approach the Middle Street merge.
Okay, you also have Ned from Singapore.
No, it's clean right now.
Let me turn mine on.
No, there's nothing on it here. I don't know what that's coming from.
Okay, just so you know.
ThinkTech always brings unparalleled media depth to its programs.
We have a
and
caller.
our show, Asia in Review, is no exception. The Thursday Asia Business and Foreign Policy shows here on ThinkTech are hosted by David Day, a well-known international lawyer with extensive experience in the business and geopolitical issues of the Asia-Pacific region.
We'll see.
We have two callers.
If it's
Okay, Leah?
Lively discussions featuring experts who unwind the critical issues and then probe for the solutions. Asia in Review with David Day.
ThinkTech Hawaii is a Hawaii nonprofit corporation organized in the year 2000. Its purpose is to raise public awareness about the importance of technology, energy, agriculture, and localism to the diversification and expansion of our economy. We do this by television shows on community television and on OC16, by newspaper articles, and by our ThinkTech radio series on KGU 760 AM. We also do it by panel programs and events, including our monthly luncheon programs with the Hawaii Venture Capital Association. ThinkTech, working to raise public awareness in Hawaii. Check us out at thinktechhawaii.com.
You're listening to Asia in Review Thursday on the ThinkTech radio series here on AM 760 KGU. Now here once again is your host, David Day.
Well, good afternoon. We are back. We're live, and we're talking about the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies impacting the region from Hawaii. And our special guest in the studio with us is its director, retired Lieutenant General Dan Leaf. And I understand that we have a caller on the line, and if you would give me your first name and where you're from, that would be great.
San Diego.
You're calling from San Diego. What is your first name?
No. I'm working here in Honolulu, but I'm originally from San Diego.
Okay, and what is your first name, sir?
Nick.
Nick. Okay, Nick, you have a question for General Leaf?
Yes, sir. I'm a naval aviator, was recently stationed out west, and when we were operational, we really didn't have a lot of interaction with civilians. I remember you mentioning that half the students were civilians. I'm wondering what the payoff is of having that is.
The payoff? The question, so the question is the payoff. I'm going to repeat the question, Nick, so our audience can understand, because the phone was breaking up a little bit. But as I understand your statement, the question was, what is the advantage to having, or the payoff for having civilians attend the APCSS courses? Do I have that right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Nick, you cited that, in Aloha, you cited that as a young aviator you didn't have much interaction. I had the same experience as an Air Force fighter pilot, but as your positions increase and role and responsibility becomes more diverse, you're going to. The level of the participants we have do interact and participate in providing security to their nations with civilian and military interaction. And so the exposure to their perspectives and the learning to work together is part of the developmental side of the executive education that we've got. And additionally, I'd say, we have fellows from several countries that don't get along with each other, and organizational dynamics are such that just learning the perspective of, say, a Ministry of Foreign Affairs civilian when you're an Army colonel or one-star helps you be more effective.
Thank you very much for joining us, Nick. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right.
Sorry about the reception. I drive before. I'm sorry.
Thanks. No problem. General Leaf, I think we have another caller. Leah, could you put our other caller on the line? Hello? Maybe not yet. Hello?
Hello?
You're on the air. Who am I speaking with? Just give me a first name and where you're from.
David, this is Ned in Singapore.
Ned from Singapore. So Ned, what is your question for General Leaf?
I have a comment and I have a question. First of all, from the discussion before the break, in regard to the pivot to Asia and the change in receptiveness here in Southeast Asia, I find that as an American, there's been a dramatic change in the perception of Americans among the general population, and it's much more receptive.
As a consequence of the pivot?
Yes, even prior to the official pivot.
Okay, all right.
Change in administrations and change in outlook, and it's been very positive in terms of reception at the man-in-the-street level.
Okay, so Ned, we're tight for time. What is your question?
So the question is, how does the center incorporate natural resource limitations in your assessments? And I'll take the answer off the air.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ned. I'm going to, in terms of resource limitations as a security issue, we look at and have faculty expertise in areas like climate change, food security, water security. We just had a water security workshop at Harvard, and so those are, that's the comprehensive nature of the security perspective at APCSS.
Okay, Dan, the clock is running out on us here.
Darn it.
Kind of a quick answer. We've got a lot of people out there who are wondering, okay, I got the picture, executive education, building relationship, changing the world. What's coming down the pike? What's your vision as the director for the future of this institution?
Continue on our outstanding executive education and our quality workshops. Expand the utilization of our alumni. They're very powerful, incredible. We get incredible fellows, the alumni from all of our courses. And then finally, I mentioned women, peace, and security in an earlier segment, but our work with regard to Burma or Myanmar, depending on your perspective, is going to be very important. We've been identified as the organization for the Department of Defense that will lead defense engagement with Burma. That will be challenging on both sides, but there's much we can do to help assist the nation and help it improve its security sector governance. Good for the government of Burma, good for the people of Burma, and therefore good for the United States.
You know, in talking about Burma or Myanmar as part of the future vision that you have, or an area of emphasis maybe, that does bring to mind the possibility I want to raise with you of APCSS working with the private sector, the business community, as they start to focus out of the United States more and more on investment, development, and various projects in Myanmar. I know we have a number of business folks here in Hawaii that have expressed to me an interest in going into Myanmar. And, how do you see the possibility of bridging over or networking with our private sector?
Networking, sure. I see it as limited, though, David, because our taxpayers pay us to, or give us resources to do defense and security sector work, and we don't have a lot of resources. We've got to use that wisely. So while it would be, that's an objective I'd love to be able to address, our focus has to be on what the Department of Defense has chartered the institution to do.
Very interesting. I think the other piece that I kind of wanted to discuss with you is if you visualize Hawaii as having a bridge to Asia, and here in the local community, clearly APCSS, along with the East-West Center, Pacific Forum, and our universities are major intellectual pillars to that bridge that support, provide a lot of expertise in that area. And in any of the programs, are you linked up with any of those other
of course pillars? We work with them in programs and daily activities. We have different focuses and priorities, but we don't try to do it alone, and the partnerships are important.
What about a success story? Let's end with kind of one case study or example of something that made you chuckle, or a great victory or success.
Okay, well, one of the things that made me chuckle was when you started our conversation here in the studio with, next week we have a very interesting guest. And I thought, well, what about this week? So that made me chuckle. But
touché.
I'll give an example. We had an extraordinarily bright ASEAN representative from a Southeast Asian nation in one of our advanced security cooperation courses. And this is my message to the American people. What do we do for you? And we were about 2/3 of the way through the course, and I always make the rounds and ask our participants what they think of it, get feedback. And I said, so how do you like the course? And her response was, sir, now I know why the United States is a superpower. And I thought, well, that's an odd response. Why is that? She said, well, no other country could do what you do here at APCSS. You get everything done, you work to your objectives, you bring a very diverse group in, you treat us all very well, at the same time you hold us to high academic standards, and you do it in such a transparent and open manner, and you have, the United States has the power to bring all these people here, and the power to change thinking, not to your thinking, but to a broader perspective. And this is somebody who will be a very important person. She already is quite accomplished, very remarkable scholar and diplomat. So that's an example of it's real. this isn't just kumbaya. There's a lot of kumbaya at APCSS, but it's much more than that. It's good for the country. One of the reasons I like to get the word out is I'd like the people of Hawaii to know about their neighbors and be proud of how we represent them.
You know, this business of being a director of an organization like this must be a real chicken skin feeling for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm in work heaven. It's what could be better? You know, after years of preparing for and executing combat, to get to do this and try to make it unnecessary, it's wonderful.
General Dan Leaf, Director of the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, thank you so much.
Aloha.
And, we appreciate you. We appreciate the service to our country. Good night. Have a safe drive home.
Time goes so quickly.
Thursday on the ThinkTech Radio Series here on AM 760 KGU with your host, David Day. You can learn more about ThinkTech and listen to earlier ThinkTech Radio